Janet from Try It Like It Create It, and I am here today with the Fairy Stampers design team making a card. We're going to be using this Peacock stamp, and this is FHS 173 Peacock. But before we do that, we need to create our background for the stamp. So what I have here is a kind of a thicker piece of sketchbook paper, and I'm going to be working with these inks from Marabu. They are watercolor inks, and I am just going to be using some cotton swabs here to apply it onto my paper. And before we do that, I'm going to want to get the paper very, very wet, so I'm just using a spray bottle with water, and so I'm just generously going to spray down that paper, and then I'm going to open up my ink colors, and we'll get busy putting it onto the paper with the cotton swabs. So I have the primary colors here: yellow, blue, red. I have green, and then I have I'm not really sure which color this one is, and I can't look to tell you while the bottle is open, but it's kind of like a fluorescent-y green color. So with my wet paper here, I am just going to start applying the ink. And let me wet this down a little bit more. I really want to get those colors to move around. There we go. I really want them to spread out and mix together. So just be generous with putting your color down. Let it move around, do its thing. So we're going to want a generous amount. Make sure we've got pretty good coverage here before we move to the next step. And what I don't want to do here is make mud, but I do want to have pretty good coverage. So let me just add a little bit more here. Alright, and then we're going to take another piece of the same paper and put it on top and kind of push down. You're basically going to get 2 for 1 out of this background. And let's peel it apart and see what we've got. So there we go. Alright, so our next step is going to be to dry this with a heat gun, and I'm going to do that off camera because it's pretty loud, so I'll be right back. Alright, so I have moved my paper off of my plastic surface that I was using to do the watercolor with, and I have moved on to my stamping platform here, and I have my piece secured on my platform, and I have already cut this down. So what I have here now is a 3.5 by 5.5, and before we get ready to stamp, I'm just going to tap a little powder on the top so that we don't get embossing powder where we don't want it. And I am going to ink up my stamp. It's a Versamark, it's clear, and we're going to use this for clear embossing. So I'm going to make sure I've generously coated my Peacock here, and then we're going to stamp and place it right over the colored areas. Give it a good press. And I have built up a little bit of layer here. I have been having some trouble with this part of the tail of the peacock, and so hopefully this will work for me. If we have an issue with it, we will just move on so I can show you the process at least. But I'm really hoping that that piece transfers this time. Alright, and now we're going to bring in our clear embossing powder. And apply it over the Peacock and we'll see how. Alright, the Peacock's starting to show up. And I'm still missing a part of his tail, but I'm getting a better amount of it. We'll move on, just so you can see the process. Okay? So, you want to be generous with the powder and then set that aside, and now the next thing we're going to do is apply heat again to get this to come up clear, and so I'll be right back after that. Alright, so I am back from heating, and I'm not sure if you can really see the Peacock or not. It might glisten a little bit for you, but what I want to make sure that you do here is that when you do your heat gun with your embossing, you want to make sure you get it to the point where it's shiny, not just like an orange pit. And I still had a little trouble with the center of his tail, but we're going to move on. So I'm taking a very juicy stamp pad, and I'm just going to go over this entire card front here and give it a nice coat of black ink. And now you want to do this, like I said, I went back to my plastic surface because I want to be able to easily clean that ink off of the surface. I really liked the idea of this colored background with the peacock because the peacock's feathers are so colorful. And this technique is called Joseph's coat. So if you're looking for more detail about the process. Alright, now I have stamped this with the pad, but I am not going to go so dark that you can't see the color through the black. I kind of like the fact that we can kind of see some of the color showing through. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a baby wipe, and I'm just using that kind of a damp baby wipe here, and I'm going to go over the peacock to reveal those colors in the feather. Or in the tail, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So there we go. So we can move on to finishing off our card. I'm going to clean up this background, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so to finish off this card, I am going to die cut a sentiment that says celebrate, and I'm cutting it out of yellow cardstock, and I'm also using that as part of the cards. I'll show you that in just a second. I'm using my mini maker here, and I'm cutting the word out. Sorry for the squeak. I'll just bring it back to make sure I have it cut well. Move that out of the way, and then open up my sandwich here to get at the word, and you can see that that cut out really nicely. Do a quick release there. Alright, and set this all aside, and then I am going to bring in my Xyron sticker maker. Now I have my card base. This is 4x6. I have the peacock that we just made, and I'm going to run this through the sticker maker because it's just the perfect size to catch this. And I really want adhesive over the whole back if I can get it. Let me tear this off. Alright, now I'm going to rub this down to make sure I've got adhesive on the back of my image. Peel off the paper. Get that off to the side. And then I'm going to bring in my yellow cardstock that I have cut down to 1/4 inch shy of the card. And it is 1/4 inch larger than the peacock. So I'm just going to line this up here so we have yellow border all the way around. Right, and I'm just going to rub the back of this smooth. Right, and then I'm quickly going to take my word here and weed out the little pieces that are here. Let me see what I have to do that with. I've got to get those little teeny pieces out of the letter. And then I'm going to run this through the sticker maker as well, because that's the easiest way to get adhesive onto the back of these little die cut pieces. Alright, so there's our word. And I'm just going to lay that in the sticker maker. So you can see that it's in there. And then from the back, I'm just going to pull the paper out until I see the word. And then there's perforation on the back here, and so I just need to pull up against that. If it fights you, you can always use a scissor. And then I'm just going to rub this down with my finger to make sure I've got good adhesion before I peel off the parts that we don't need any longer. And then I'm going to grab my word. Alright, and it looks like it's good and sticky. In fact, it has a little bit of extra adhesive coming with it, so let me just clear some of that away with my fingers. Alright, I think we're good. And I'm going to place that into the bottom of my card. So yeah, it's really sticky. And just give it a go right there. Stick it down. Then the last thing we need to do is stick the yellow card to the front of our card. And so to do that, what I'm going to do here is just use a tape runner, because it's a little bit large for the sticker maker. And I really don't need the whole surface to be sticky. Alright, that should be enough. And then we'll put that down here. And there we go. Any additional adhesive you can clean off with a little gum eraser. But that's it for that technique. Hope you enjoyed it.